Hello, and unfortunately, I have to welcome you back to one more game in the Reddit League Season 3. I would have loved to already be promoted, but, well, I should have played better if I wanted that to be the case. So, we're into the promotion playoffs against Werdok. So, we're going to be in Division 2 again next season. We're actually going to do it slightly different this time. I have so far live commentated everything. I chose just to try it out for this week. I thought I want to see what happens if I record it, and I also had the face cam on just to, I mean, obviously so you can see my reactions, but also that you can see that there's no cuts in there or anything where I might have cheated or something. That's not the reason. I just wanted to see what happens if I don't have the additional pressure of having to commentate while playing, as well as maybe not having to focus on the commentating part and therefore being able to think more clearly. Whether that worked or not, you'll see in a bit because I've already played the game, and I'll be commentating over it, and I'll tell you my thought processes and everything afterwards. I can first of all I can tell you it did not help with nerves. My heartbeat was probably worse than during the last couple of weeks. But maybe it helped slightly with concentrating. But yeah, we'll see. Let me know if it's something you like, if it's something you don't like, and I might do that occasionally next season as well. But we'll see. Anyway, it's just more work for me. That's the problem. But yeah, I'll just leave you with that, and I'll see you again in the commentary part. Hello there. We're now going into the actual game. Don't worry, the camera is not out of sync. It's just that I'm speaking to you from the future. Got it? Good. Okay, so going into round one. From the get go, looks pretty South African. I wasn't 100% sure because Midlands Meander, as you can see right there, sounded a bit Australian to me. So, I mean, obviously, I didn't have much more information here anyway, so I needed to continue. There was no reason to already narrow myself down to one country. But purely based on the landscape, I was pretty sure it had to be South Africa. Otherwise, it would be some sort of area in Australia I'm not familiar with. And here we see an area code being 033, which kind of nudged me even more in the direction of South Africa because that's a South African area code. I wasn't entirely sure if it's in Australia, if it could be an Australian area code as well. But yeah, anyway. At this point, I see the highway there, make my way onto the highway. And pretty soon, once I've gone to the next one here, actually realize Moy River, okay, that's the town we're next to. And at that point, seeing the R622, it was pretty obvious we're in South Africa anyway. Looking for the R622, not a good idea. They're not ordered very well, so you'd have to search over the whole country. So I decided I'm on a highway anyway. I'd rather look for better signs. And better signs, there we go. This one gives me the distance 63 kilometers to Pietermaritzburg, which is one of the bigger cities. It took me a bit to find it, but it wasn't too difficult, and there's Moy River, so not much of an issue. I've actually recorded this voiceover for the first round previously, and then I realized for some reason Sony Vegas had just replaced my, well, Sony Vegas didn't, Windows replaced my microphone input with the wrong thing. I was looking there at, I see town in distance, we came from the south west of the town, so we have to be on this kind of road. And now I'm just trying to confirm if I go south, I will eventually end up on that curve in the road, and I'm just trying to look at how far away that curve is. There's also a sign for the station house here, which I'm not sure if that is on the map. I don't think it is, but here is the Fountain Hall guest farm, which definitely is on the map. So I knew, okay, we weren't too far away from the curve. And there is this side road here, on the side of the road, which matches up with this one perfectly, which means, well, easy game. Roughly around here, 170 meters around about of margin or leeway. So yeah, easy 5k there. And we moved into the Netherlands. I actually thought, for like the first 10 seconds or so, I thought it could be Belgium. It could still technically have been Belgium, but there's some yellow number plates on cars. And then I walked south, went to the other way, and from that point onwards, this is like typically Dutch. And I decided to go further north because, well, the thing is, I'm not a fan of the Netherlands in GeoGuessr. This will be a theme. Be aware of that. So I knew I kind of had to find a city, either a city that I recognized that sort of gives me an area to look for it, or a road that I can find on the map. And here we go. Here's the city with Eindhoven. I also feel like I recognized Weert, but I wouldn't have known where it is. But Eindhoven is pretty clear. So we're pretty far south. We are actually close to the Belgian border. And Boedel Centrum means we're probably pretty close to Boedel. I can already see it on the map. At least I'm pretty sure. Past me, it doesn't see it on the map yet. But at this point, I'm kind of just checking. Eindhoven is to the north, so I'm checking to the south of it. And I found Maarheze. And further down, there's Weert. And now the question is, can I find Boedel? I think I actually might have not seen Boedel by the time I said it previously. I've just misread that slightly, I think, because it was in a pretty different area. These signs are a bit more helpful because A, it tells me distances, in this case 2 kilometers to Boedel Centrum. It also tells me a road name, Neuwedijk, and it gives me distances to a couple others. 9 kilometers to Weert, 21 to Eindhoven, and that's pretty useful. Come on, Calamity, you can do it. I'm looking for Boedel, but I can't find it. I knew it had to be close. 9 kilometers to Weert is pretty close. So I went over to the other direction and, oh, there is Boedel. Right on my screen there. Yeah, almost. So went south of it. Come on. There we go. There's Boedel. And there's the road, most importantly. And this is a roundabout I found. It was pretty easy to find on the map once you knew where Boedel is. I don't know why I'm then going in that direction. Yes, I came from the south. Yes, good. And at that point, yeah, I'm pretty sure I remembered Bosch at least. I might have not remembered it. Probably didn't. Either way, I'm just going there to confirm it. No, I don't think I've seen it before. Actually, I did see it on the northern side of the street, but I didn't remember at this point. That's how it was. And yeah, there's not a lot to pinpoint, but there is one house here. At this point, I think it might be this house. And then I look a bit at what other houses are there, what side roads maybe go off of the main street, and decide that this one, that I'll click on in a second, based on the proximity to the other houses to the north, this one was more likely, also because it's a bit bigger in terms of like size. Well, so first 2 rounds went pretty well. At this point, I think my heart rate was at about 180, if not higher. And that is not what you want to see after that. And honestly, I could probably fast forward this a bit. There's not going to be much happening for the next couple of minutes. But I just started off going south. I do turn around eventually. Don't remember when roughly, but I thought I might as well go south. I mean, what I know here right now is I've got a black car and we've got Spanish, Municipalidad de Miraflores. So we're in Argentina or Uruguay, and that's pretty much it. I know we're not too far south based on the landscape. It's not desert-like enough to be all that far south, but anywhere from like the center of Argentina to the very far north parts of it, I can't really tell apart all that much. Decided to turn around here, head back to the north, maybe in the thoughts of finding something, because the point was I found the bus stop for Municipalidad de Miraflores, and my thought process was, I found that bus stop. It does not look like I'm coming up to a bigger city here. So maybe the bigger city is behind me and I need to go the other way to find it. I don't know if the thought process makes much sense, but that was it. So I went north here. I think I spent about a minute going south with, well, it told me we're in Miraflores, nothing else. So it's not particularly fruitful. I guess if I had any doubts about being in South America, it eradicated those. But apart from that, it still doesn't really tell me much. Then I found the bus here and thought maybe I'll have a look at the bus. And I do think it mentioned that, yeah, it confirmed my last doubts. If I wasn't entirely sure we were in Argentina, then that bus confirmed those doubts and made it pretty clear. So then I continued going north, because what else would I be doing? And I was right in my assumption. Whether, my thoughts of why that was the case was true or not is a different matter, but the assumption ended up being correct. So I made it to Miraflores, and there came my issues. I recognized Miraflores, and you'll see why I recognized Miraflores afterwards. But Miraflores is not a rare name in South America. It's very common, and because it's so common, I knew I recognized it, so I was thinking it's going to be a bigger town. But you saw there, as soon as you zoom into Argentina, you get millions of towns popping up everywhere. So I thought, maybe if I just continue, maybe I'll find distances to something else, maybe a state name, anything really. Anything that's not zona urbana. I was hoping for something on this, and I think there might actually be useful information on it, but I just can't read it because it's too small, it's too blurry. So at this point, 20 seconds left, I kind of realized, okay, there's nothing here. And I just kind of thought, okay, if we're somewhere in the northern part of Argentina, but I just don't know where exactly, and I can't find Miraflores. So I just put my pin down there. I think I might actually still change it a bit. Yeah, I changed it over here. It's not a big correction. And we were all the way north. And yeah, Miraflores is a tiny town. And yeah, I would have never found that. And we start with even more fun. I think for a while there, I was very hesitant on saying where we are. Not really sure at all. It's kind of a dirt road. We've got a black car. I was thinking Brazil maybe. I was thinking Argentina. I was thinking Uruguay. But I don't know the street. I've never been on the street in GeoGuessr before. And my thought process was, if this was a street in Uruguay, then there is no way I wouldn't recognize it. Absolutely no chance. And so I worked under the assumption that, well, it can't really be Uruguay unless I find anything at all that indicates it's Uruguay. At that point, I would have been like, okay, maybe it's Uruguay then, after all. But if I were to find absolutely nothing, why would I go with Uruguay? I don't recognize it. I've played loads of seeds in Uruguay. I've had loads of dirt roads that all look nothing like this. So I just thought, not Uruguay. So that leaves Argentina and Brazil. The more I walked around, the more I'm like, it's not Brazil. But I couldn't really eliminate the option either. Not 100% guaranteed at least. And as you can kind of guess here already, by the way, the landscape changes so much and there's so many signs I'm going past here. Yeah, there's not really a lot to find here. Just to tell you as well, because it doesn't really matter, might as well. There's nothing in the other direction either. I mean, I'm not 100% sure there's nothing close by. And you do eventually make it to a bigger road after a similar distance as it would take you going north. And I didn't check thoroughly if there were any signs along that road, but it was kind of in the middle of a long, long dirt road, the starting point. I eventually made it here. It's some sort of population, San Nicanor or San Nicanor, I can't remember. I couldn't read quite. Frankly, and I thought that sounded more Spanish than it did Portuguese. The thing is, this doesn't really look like a lot of Argentina. It doesn't really look like a lot of Brazil either. And what is this? Casa Redención. And the thing I thought at the end was the one reason that made me not go for Brazil is casa. I know casa is Spanish for house. I do not know if casa is also Portuguese for house, but I decided to go with the Spanish-speaking option here.
But as you can see, there's Santa Maria. Great. No information that's helpful at all there. So I just continue 30 more seconds. Doesn't really look like I'll hit any sort of major city close by, next to around the next corner. And 18 seconds. It's not really anything here. Not at all. It gets a bit more populated, it looks like. But I decided to go with that northern tip of Argentina because I know the landscape there looks similar. Thinking back to it, it's maybe slightly different, but it is pretty similar. And it was Uruguay. And as you can see there, I was very happy about that. Yeah, I've never been on this road before. And yeah, as I also point out there, I was maybe like 1 kilometer away from a bigger city. So that was great. And then the last round, Moicobal. Never heard of it. Never seen a sign similar. This one here made it pretty clear that we're somewhere in the Balkans. Where exactly? No idea. Could be Croatia, could be Montenegro, could be North Macedonia, could be Slovenia, could be Serbia. I think that's it. I don't think there's a possibility for it being anything else, but that's still a lot of options. So I just decided to make my way down here. Some signs, are they useful? No, not at all. Some more signs coming up. Are they useful? Nope, not those one. And, oh, Belgrade. Oh, in Serbia, I see. Okay. Put a marker down somewhere in Serbia. Pljevlja? Jesus Christ, and Sabljak. Never heard of either of those, but sure. Decided to take a quick look, but thought, okay, maybe it's better if I continue on and worry about that later. Maybe I'll find some better signs. Again, the stadium for FK Brskovo. I thought maybe that might be the town name we're in. More useless signs, just the same signs plastered everywhere. Anything else here? Not really. Just entering a small town. Some hiking routes, some biking routes, all very great. What does this sign say? Nothing useful at all, just a hotel. And then we come up to this sign, which mentions Ribarevina, which is another town you could look for. Another town I'd never heard of before. So very, very helpful. I'm just looking at the map, maybe looking if I can find some of them. Moicobal, Ribarevina, the other ones I could not figure out how to pronounce. But no, they're not really here anywhere. Well, I decided, okay, there's so many small towns in Serbia that there's no real use if I don't have at least a clue as to how far away from Belgrade I was. There's no real reason to look for any of them. And there's a sign towards Kolašin. Now, Kolašin, I knew I recognized. I knew I've seen that before. And I was pretty sure it stood out at a decent zoom level. So why could I not find it? It's got to be here somewhere, right? Kolašin. Only 45 seconds left here. Time is running out quickly. And again, at this point, I know I recognize Kolašin. I know it has to be pretty decently sized at least. But I just can't find it. 30 seconds. The timer's running down. At this point, I'm pretty sure I've lost already anyway. And I can't be that far away from it because after all, I saw a sign to Belgrade, so it's got to be close to Belgrade, right? I'll probably lose a couple of 100 points, but Argentina and Uruguay probably did me in anyway. So I'm just looking, but no, as the timer runs out, I just can't find it anywhere. So I'm just going to put a guess down here, not too far away from Belgrade, and it's Montenegro. Yep. I don't know which third world country doesn't put the country of a city that's not in your country on a sign. Like I don't know any like first world country would put Belgrade in sort of a circle on the side, Serbia. No, Montenegro doesn't. Tolenpal then reminded me maybe those signs are older than the split between Montenegro and Serbia, but that was 16 years ago. The sign didn't look 16 years old to me. or 15 years, but it's like at least 15 years, if not more. I went back to it here to check if it really didn't say that Belgrade is in a different country on that sign. But no, it didn't. And yeah, I'll leave you with future me again.
And there you have it. Didn't go too well. The first 2 rounds went pretty great, and then it all just, well, went to shit, basically. It was a pretty difficult seed for the last 3 rounds, for me specifically, because I actually talked with Ice a week ago, I think, about just theoretically if we ever were to meet in the final of the tournament and had to actually pick maps, about which maps we'd pick against each other and which we wouldn't. And I listed like 5 or 6 countries that I definitely wouldn't pick, that I'm just bad at. And 2 of those were Montenegro and Argentina, with the others being, I think it was Indonesia, Russia, and the US and Canada. I think those were the other 4. So that was just a perfect seed for me, wasn't it? But it is what it is. I don't think Werdok has played yet, so I don't know yet, but I can't imagine him not beating that score. It wasn't awful, but it wasn't good either. And so we'll just quickly go through the other division seeds to finish off this season. Let's take a look at the Division 1 seed first. Let's do it this way around this time because that's how I opened it. And I did play better in all of the other division seeds, so that's typical. Division 1 seed started off in Botswana. And I actually wasn't sure where exactly this, not even where exactly, but I wasn't sure which country this was until like the last 10 seconds when I made it into this town and I saw the race of the people, basically. I did think of Botswana, but I wasn't sure. I was kind of tempted between Botswana, maybe something in South America. I think I thought for a bit about Australia, but I'll just show you the location so you can understand why. It's just kind of very middle of nowhere. And so, yeah, for the longest time, I had no idea pretty much. I think I would have gone with Botswana even if I hadn't found the village, but I would have been a lot less confident about it. Then round 2 goes over to Colombia. And that was actually pretty interesting because looking through it there's not a lot of people who managed to pinpoint that. There's only Hexalt and no one else. And I thought this round was probably one of the easier ones of the seed. I was pretty far out there, I'll admit that, but you can see there I barely had to move. There's a couple of hotels here. There's this one and there's another one here, I think. Mirador de Cocona is a recreational center, whatever that means. And once you got to down here, I think it told you there was a big sign. It said you're on the route between Medellin and Bogota, and that is this route. So I only had to check the 60 for this stretch of road, and also I think there was a kilometer marker that said something like 70 or something, 72 kilometers. I think that was on the sign as well, actually. Where it made it pretty clear we're either somewhere close to Medellin or somewhere close to Bogota. So I just checked here, and actually I was looking for Cucuana, or more so afterwards, the hotels around here, and actually did not see this. I found this in the end. But yeah, it was a pretty easy round. I knew what I had to look for like 30 seconds in, and then it just took me a bit longer than it should have to find it. But still, you can see there I still had 18 seconds to go. Round 3 was over here in Mallorca, which was actually a bit confusing for me as well, because you can see here the road's called MA 3011, and I made it up here, over there, and there were signs everywhere. And also signs that mentioned the MA 3011, but I've looked for it first. First of all, I looked for it in Madrid before I realized, okay, Madrid's just M. Then I looked for it in Malaga, which does have MA, which did not make this much easier. And then I realized, okay, one of the signs says Palma. And then I thought, okay, Mallorca, all right. And from then on, it wasn't too difficult anymore. It was just You didn't actually get the name of this specific road because, well, it's not named on the map. Well, you do get the name in game, but you don't get it on the map, so I couldn't know for sure. But it kind of fit to be here, so I did go with that. But at that point I'd run out of time, so I couldn't pinpoint it anymore. But I still got the 5K in the end. Round 4 was, what was round 4? South Korea. Yeah, no idea. Didn't find anything at all and just kind of went over here. No clue. Movement was also a bit odd. Like it just teleported you around. There were a lot of dead ends everywhere. You can see it there. I hit a couple of them. It was just, yeah, not find anything. And round 5 was then in Czechia, which that was probably the easiest round to be honest. I just walked over here. There was a sign like here that pretty much told you you're on the somewhere where the 11 and the 43 meet up. I don't think it specifically told you which road you're on, but I think it also then here gave you distances or something like that. So I just looked at where the 11 and the 43 meet up, and they meet up here and here, but obviously this made more sense than this, just with road direction and stuff like that. So yeah, the Division 1 seed wasn't too difficult. There were just 2 rounds where there was pretty much no information to pinpoint with. But other than that, not too bad. Then go into the Division 3 seed, which was even easier. It started us off in Malaysia. Right at the top here, there were signs. Well, there was a sign up here, not too far away, pretty close to the start actually, that pointed, that told me we're somewhere near the K13, which gives away which state you're in. And you also had a couple of kilometer signs to the Pedu Resort, which was like 30 kilometers away, and then it was like 100 kilometers to Kupang, I think. But I'm not entirely sure about that anymore. There was something else. So I kind of knew we were sort of in an odd place that didn't make much sense with the signs, because as I said, the sign said we're like 30 kilometers away from Pedu Resort, which I assumed was close to Pedu Lake. Otherwise, that wouldn't have made much sense. But and it was south of us as well. But along the K13, there is no place where those conditions can be true. So I kind of figured we had to be further up here. And this just very long stretch of straight road just fit the end like 500 meters off. But that's fine. Round 2 was up here in Latvia. That was probably the easiest round in this seed. There were a couple of signs. I don't remember if it was, it was down here, which with a sign for Sardus and the distance to it, and then up here there was a sign to Werner and Eisupe, and it was all just pretty straightforward stuff. Round 3 then was in Peru. That one took me a bit. I eventually found a sign that did say we're in Arequipa, but before that I found I think it was a taxi that said Cerro Colorado. So once I found that and I was looking around and I saw, okay, there's mountains to the north of us pretty close from what I saw, which made me think, all right, we might be closer to further north here. No, absolutely not. Somewhere close to downtown. Don't understand it, but sure. Also, if you look at that, look, there's Miraflores. Also, over here, what is it exactly? Look, there's Miraflores. Fuck Miraflores. Round 4 was over in North Macedonia. This was technically a very easy round, but I was just confused for a lot of it because I went east and the signs were obviously North Macedonian, but I just couldn't find any of the cities that were on the signs until I eventually found a sign that was like municipality of Radovic. So I knew, okay, the states in North Macedonia are called municipalities, so I can just look for the borders of them until I found the one with Radovic, because it's just spelled differently here. So I don't know if it was that, but I just couldn't find it while looking on the map. I have no idea why. But yeah, in the end, I found the municipality, and then it was pretty easy to pinpoint here, um, because we were very close to this corner and we were very close to this turn off, so to speak, like this small little road, which made it not too difficult. And then we finished it off in the Netherlands, which actually took me quite a while as well. And again, it's just, I think that's probably one of my bigger problems right now is that I can't find anything on the map. Like, you can see here, Bolsward is big. Like, you can zoom into this level and you'll still see Bolsward. Um, and it took me like, you can see it there, it took me all 4 minutes until I eventually found it. Because I knew pretty early. I went over here into Witmasum. I think there was on this this sort of, not really roundabout, but this junction. And at this roundabout, I saw a couple of signs saying we're somewhere along the A7, and gave me distances to Borsvad, Witmasum, a couple more smaller towns in the area. And I looked through the whole A7 twice. The whole A7, and I think it stops around here near Amsterdam. I went through that whole stretch of road twice, and only the third time around I went through the whole road, like at this sort of zoom level. I just went there and went through it like this, but obviously much slower, so I can actually find something in theory. But only the third time I did that, I actually found Bolsward, which is ridiculous. Uh, but yeah, that was that season. Again, not too bad. Then round five, the Division 4 seed was again pretty nice. Started us off in Ireland. Was a pretty easy round. Made my way down here. And there were signs for Derry, for the N15, for Sligo, I think, as well. It gave some distances, and it gave distances as well to Carney, I think. Um, so that was a relatively easy round, 2 minutes 29. Pinpointing was annoying because there was a road that went off here, like a small road. I thought, okay, there's one small road here on the map. It's got to be that one. It wasn't that one. Round two was a bit more tricky over in Bhutan because there wasn't much information. There was one sign here that pointed to something that I thought I recognized, but it's not on the map, so who knows? And then the only thing that you had was you got a pretty decent view of the landscape, and you could see that you're sort of on the eastern side of a valley that has a river running through it that goes sort of north south. And that happens a couple of times. It happens here, happens here, it happened here as well, lots of times. And I went with this one because I thought this kind of thing also sort of fit with what I saw in sort of in terms of a very curvy road, um, as you can see here, but it just wasn't it. Yeah, not much you can do about that. Round three then went over to Bolivia, which took me quite a while to recognize as Bolivia. And in the end, yeah, slight mistake there, which I couldn't necessarily have known about because I walked north. And I eventually found a sign that did say that we're in the municipality of Pasna. But because, I didn't walk south, so I never saw a town. I thought, okay, we can't be in Pasna. We need to be somewhere away from Pasna. And I decided we were south of it when we were actually north of it. Because, I walked north to get to a sign that said Municipality of Pasna. So I thought, okay, the town itself has to then be further north, which it wasn't. But yeah, it took me forever to recognize this as Bolivia. I think until like 3 minutes had passed, I still thought we were in Chile because I can't remember ever having been on this road, and there was like almost no information on it. And there were a couple of those, those typical Chilean roads where you just have like C dash, or what it was, like 73 or something. And then there was one that said B-16 or something. So I just thought those are typical roads for Chile, and the landscape fit. I mean, it's not exactly far off, is it? Uh, until I eventually found just one of those signs that had the Bolivian flag on it, and I was like, oh, yeah. And then, just by way of landscape and this big lake here, it was pretty obvious where we had to be. But still, it took a while. Round 4 was in Serbia. And yeah, I found signs. I knew that we were in Ravna Dubrava. Um, that was pretty much it. I knew we were in Serbia. I saw a sign that pointed me towards Belgrade, which is all the way over here. Why we need a sign towards Belgrade down here? I don't know. But yeah, see how far you have to zoom in for that. There was no way of me finding that ever. And then round 5 was on Christmas Island. It actually took me longer than it should have to find that intersection. It took me a minute 30. I also love those buildings that look a bit like arrows that you have in Street View itself. I was a bit confused when I saw that until I realized, yeah, well, obviously they're buildings. But yeah, you didn't really have to move much. There was a sign here that told you that you're on Murray Road. And I told you another road, which is this one apparently, but that just doesn't have a name on Christmas Island, which is why I think it took me a while. And it also looked extremely similar to a round we had somewhere else on Christmas Island a couple of months ago, I think. Might have been last season actually. And I actually couldn't remember where that one was. I think it was somewhere further down here, but I don't know where. Might have been here. Yeah, it was this one with this road here, somewhere in between those. It looked a lot like that, which, well, again, it's Christmas Island. It's not exactly huge. Of course, it's going to look a lot like that. But yeah, that was that. And with that, we're going to do one more check. Has Werdok played yet? Werdok has not played yet. That's how the ranking looks like at the moment. And yeah, with that, I'll probably update the description once the video comes out to tell you how badly I've lost. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed watching the season. Thanks for doing so. I hope I see you guys again in season 4. Till then.